welcome our moderators for this session. Dr. Wong, Phoebe Weisom, Senior Lecturer, Division of Business and Hospitality Management, PolyU CPCE, and member, PolyU CPCE CPR, and Dr. Law, Vincent Tin Singh, Senior Lecturer, Division of Social Sciences, Humanities and Design, PolyU CPCE, and Associate Member, PolyU CPCE CPR. We have now our first plenary session for the topic EduTech applications. Would the moderator please introduce the speaker?
Thank you very much. So in this session, we are going to have 4 presentations followed by the panel discussion. It is our great honor and pleasure to have presenters from the industry and academic sector. The title of our first presentation today is How Adaptive Learning Technology Can Be Used to Improve Teaching and Learning by Dr. Samuel Fong, partner DXR Asia Pacific Limited, Maxim Education Limited. Dr. Fong, please.
Thanks. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Wong, for your introduction. My partner team, I'm Samuel, and my colleagues, Elaine, all of us are alumni of PolyU. So it's our great honor to be here to introduce how adaptive learning technology can be used to improve teaching and learning. We are in the age of technology. Technology is central to many sectors of society, and its integration with education has great promise for many students and for the teaching and learning. For example, medical students can learn through the e-learning software and do the practice in a simulation in a safe environment and debrief by recording their performance during the learning process. And we can also do the disaster management drills through the VR system. All right, and today we will introduce how adaptive learning can use for the teaching and learning. Traditionally, classroom-based training has been used for teaching and learning, but its efficiency and effectiveness are limited due to some factors such as fixed location, inflexible time schedules, long traveling times, and high administration costs, and sometimes boring lectures. All right. Some research have found students with traditional classroom-based training will forget the contents. After the lectures, and the retention rate are very low as compared to the traditional forms of learning. E-learning is cost-effective because a lot of training times is reduced, and also the number of trainers, the cost materials and accommodation. This cost effectiveness can help the organization to increase their profit. And it's inflexible, it's flexible and accessible. Students can access their e-learning materials anytime and anywhere using different types of mobile devices they have. A student will enjoy the benefit through e-learning. the retention rate are higher than the traditional classroom-based model. And e-learning can also provide the ability for teachers to track student progress and ensure they fulfill their performance achievement. And unlike classroom teaching, with online teaching, you can access the contents with unlimited number of times, especially during the period of revision. When you prepare for the exam, in traditional form of learning, if you cannot attend the lecture, you have to do it by yourself. But with e-learning, you can attend the lecture whenever you want. And when we're talking about e-learning, most of us will associate it with the online lectures, right? Especially during the COVID-19 pandemic period. As Professor Poon mentions, everyone goes
好，開
on.
下時間長，跟住坐到過嚟都
Yes. Most of the schools have to deliver the course, the lectures online. Such kind of e-learning has its drawbacks. First, 2 or 3 hour lectures are too long for the students to concentrate
點解又話咁呢
and to focus on it. And there is no interaction during the lectures, right? As Professor Poon mentioned. And lots of internal resources to maintain the platform and create online course will be adopted. And all students in different level need to go through the same content. Instructors are difficult to guarantee the students to learn effectively because every student have their unique needs. All right, so we cannot use the same content to teach all the students. And also the track records is not detailed enough to show students competence, especially their unconscious incompetence. All right. So adaptive learning model can be used to solve such kinds of problems. The concept of adaptive learning is the delivery of education or training, which utilize technology and data to provide an individually customized learning program to students, intelligently adapting to their needs. So adaptive learning can enable teachers to shift from one size for all learning model to a more focused one. And we live in an age of personalization. All right, so Professor Poon named the Global for freedom. All right. And the growth of mobile technologies, big data and machine learning over the past decades have created an ecosystem which allows for personalized content and experience. So you can see here, the adaptive learning is a one-to-one learning, but not a traditional e-learning with restricted learning path. The traditional e-learning will allow the students to learn step by step, but with adaptive learning, the software will contain all the materials relates to the class, to the course, and will prioritize the learning objectives and sequence by orders. So the student can jump from step 3 to step 7 if he know what he knows. All right. So he can save the time by skip the step 4, 5, 6. And by using the personalized approach to replace the one-to-one interaction in a digital environment, the students' answer to the questions will be calculated by the AI and have a real-time feedback. And the teachers can focus on the students' incompetence and provide different teaching materials and for different students. All right. So different students can have their own learning journey. So why we have to adopt adaptive learning? Because adaptive learning can adapt to, can be personalized and adapt to individual needs. And students will not repeat to learn something they have already known. And instructors can only focus to teach the students' incompetence, especially the unconscious incompetence. The most important is the highly personalized content will keep the students motivated. All right. So my partner team will go through a case study for you for the adaptive learning.
Thank you, Dr. Fong. Yeah, I will speed up and then okay, now we would like to see the question and the problem. We talk about the traditional learning and adaptive learning, and now we would like to show you a real actual case and how it make it successful on applying the technologies. So why Avialine? Avialine is a Denmark company. They have 25 years experience on EdTech, on technologies, on teaching and learning, and they have over 30 million users around the world and collect more than 8 billion human response, the data about the teaching and learning of the new technologies, and over customer around 150 countries. Over the past 20 years, there is a large amount of actual company has been benefit and applying these technologies with a lot of like Hitachi, GSK, some pharmaceutical company. And you can also see the American Heart Association over active user, over a million active user annually, and some New England Journal Medical, those very famous medical journal publishers. And then they also receive award, an excellent award on the teaching and learning technologies from different parties to recognize on the technologies. So now we actually see the actual program. So the program we have Dr. Fong just mentioned about the theory, and now the program we utilize the instructor, the professor, your teaching material using the same teaching content, but we will divide the content into very detailed learning objective, or break it down into very granular level of teaching content, and then in different format. In simulation game, we can add on some simulation game. We can add on problem solving case study, and then we can add on real case to enhance the learning engagement. And then we talk about this is actually come from the actual training data point we collect. So different learner have different learning pathway, and then to show the different efficiencies. So we can use this area line technology to shorten the time of the training, but to maintain the same competency level of the proficiency level. And also another one very important adaptive learning principle in area line is about the reinforcement or refreshment to enhance the retention of the knowledge. As there's one famous book called Learning How to Learn from Professor Barbara Oakley, and then talk about the high frequency, small dose. So will the evidence show the retention of the knowledge will be much better than the traditional training. And the meta condition is another model which Everlife emphasize to help to identify the student or the user or the employee, they actually have unconscious incompetence. In particular, in healthcare medical area, it is a life and death issue. Therefore, the program is very important to identify the student or the professor or the learner incompetence level, and then to bring the mastery of the competence and conscious competence level. So there will be accelerate learning, and the evidence from the database is so it can be increased 50% or shorten the time of the learning about 50%, and then to get the 100% competency level about using the AI on the area line adaptive learning technologies. Another point very clear and important for the professor and the instructor is to analytic statistic report, which you want to know how your student weaknesses or how much they actually learn. So the computer program, because as we mentioned, there's a lot of objective and data collection point. So the statistic report can show to the instructor, to the professor, very detailed report about the student performance or weaknesses. And then you save half of the time of the training, but you spend more time on the case discussion, particular on the student weaknesses. So a very quick one on the actual case. For example, American Heart Association Basic Life Support Training courses. It is a 2-day training courses. Apply the area line adaptive learning. It can be reduced to 5-hour training. So it's 1/3 of the time of the traditional course. If you talk about the manpower of 1 million healthcare professional taking the course every year, saving the time and the manpower, is saving a lot of the resources of the corporation. So another example is on the pilot teaching. So another example which shortened the time period and then maintain the blended learning, adaptive learning performance level. So in summary, now finally on summary, what is the benefit for you as a user on the adaptive learning? From the instructor, it can spend less of the time to providing the lecture, because the technology itself, it helps you to build the learning objective and the question and add on those engagement and focus more on it can spend your time, instructor, to focus more on the discussion, experience sharing, and interaction on the tutorial. So you'll be more efficient on delivering your training program. And then it will also show you a very detailed training record about the student competency and the weaknesses, and then you can address the student weaknesses. Another point from the student point of view, it can spend half of the time, it can mastery of the same competency level of the learning objective, and it can be also the statistics show more engagement of the student. Instead of traditional e-learning, only one way the instructor talk about, now using adaptive learning is more engagement, showing the student engaged to the program. And it's more prepared for the instructor lead section and focus on the prioritize refresh content. It will not be easy to forget. So it means higher retention rate of the knowledge. So very quick summary, and welcome everyone. If you are interested, you can contact us and ride on the high-speed railway on the adaptive learning technology and help you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fong and Mr. Yun, for the very insightful presentation. We are going to gather all the questions at the end in the panel discussion. Now moving on to the second presentation. So the title is EdTech to Enhance Learning and Teaching Experience by Ms. Teresa Ng, Head of Marketing, Consumer Group of HKT and HKT Education Limited, Chair Lady, E-Learning Consortium. Ms. Ng, please. We are waiting for the second presentation, so maybe we can have some questions from the audience or maybe online. How about maybe is there some question online, right?
So this question is for Dr. Fong and Mr. Yun. So your Area 9 platform is a user-friendly platform and interactive control. So how can you apply to self-financing institute like us? Or actually, are there any clients, existing clients in self-financing units?
Okay, first, very welcome any interested party to approach us. And then we just yesterday, we at another tertiary education, and then most of the school now have a innovative teaching fund to encourage the instructor or professor to apply some new technology on the learning. So we will also be very willing to facilitate and also discuss with Airline from Denmark. In fact, one of the school from Denmark, the nursing school, 4 years program curriculum, fully applied adaptive learning. So we would like to, also, as Dr. Fong mentioned, we are alumni of PolyU. We would like to bring the latest technology back to PolyU and benefit on the professor and also the student. So definitely find a way to help PolyU. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fong and Mr. Yun. So now we come to the second presentation by Ms. Teresa Ng. So as introduced by Phoebe, so Ms. Ng is the head of marketing. So Ms. Ng, please start.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. Good morning. It's my honor to share our experience in embracing the new normal of education on behalf of Hong Kong Telecom. HKT has been serving Hong Kong for 150 years. Apart from the traditional telco services, not sure if you're aware some of the familiar logos on the slide that are also belong to our families. HKT is no longer just a telco nowadays. We are building strong data analytic capabilities with our abundant information from the 4 million customer base. Apart from that, we are extending into green mobilities, IoT, EdTech, FinTech, Health Tech, and OTT entertainment services. We do know what kind of talents the industry is looking for. HKT Education is a dedicated arm to serve K-12 and higher ed in Hong Kong and Macau. The comprehensive service portfolio aims to build tomorrow education today. Apart from driving Apple and Google free e-learning solutions, we have been working on interesting AI and learning analytic projects in the past 2 years. Learning analytics has the potential to transform the way we measure impact and outcome in learning environments. It is especially important since we will very soon be back to online teaching mode. Below are just a few of the most significant reasons for why learning analytics have the power to enhance e-learning experience and create more effective learning environments. First, how to predict learners' performance. Second, it creates learner diversities. Enable to provide learners with a personalized e-learning experience. Without doubt, learners are more motivated and result in better retention rate on online courses. Learning analytics could help to timely review pedagogy and learning plan. E-learning indeed is a prerequisite for learning analytics, and there are a number of associated benefits like quality assurance, collaborative learning, instant peer and teacher feedback for individual and by group. There are a lot of studies on learning analytics, but not many rollout cases in Asia. Today, I would like to share a recent case with you. Hougang Middle School is the largest secondary school in Macau. The school has been following the direction of the PRC government education reform all along. HKT Education has been the partner to drive the transformation journey since 2013. The latest 3-year plan mission is build a smart campus, leverage big data, and improve all-rounded students' core literacy. In the program design, we have utilized learning analytics to provide personalized learning experience for Hougang secondary school students. There are an integration of big data and of course AI to campus management by collecting data in 4 aspects, including in-class learning data and assessment, in-class behavior like interaction among learners, concentration levels, and learners' engagement with teachers. Third, the book reading and borrowing behavior. Last but not least, students will wear a smart bracelet when they go to school for attendance tracking, healthcare data collections, including walking steps, and campus activities like where and how long they stay in different campus zones. With the use of learning analytics, high level of value-added contribution could be achieved, like descriptive analytics for before-class assignments, and also inside in-class work. The diagnostic analytics is enabled with the use of the digital learning plan. The school actually like the digital learning plan a lot, since students do need to write on physical papers for examination and classwork. Predictive analytics is very important for this school, since the school represents majority of students taking PISA from Macau. They do need to know the profile and strength and weakness of the students to customize learning plan to improve their performance. The analytic on before class assignments facilitate the teachers to cater learning diversity by first, different interactive group activities to improve engagement and collaborations. And also the adaptive assignments, and which could be tailored for different learning clusters. Of course, the results and also the results are presented in a user-friendly manner on the learning analytic platform. And of course, the result is amazing. Teachers find learning analytic very useful in managing learner diversity, and students Usenet effort in getting better results. The outcome is great. It also reflects the foresight of these Macau School. Being their partner, I would say, the journey is not easy at all. I'm impressed with the strong determination from the school management team. They do care. With the emergence of new technology, are we helping our students to acquire skills for future workforce? These are the skills highlighted in the Future of Job report, a bit old, 2018, in World Economic Forum. Despite the report is 4 years old, and frankly speaking, I did not hear about all these skills until recent years. We are all doing certain kind levels of e-learning for sure. However, is the current model good enough to groom our students to embrace with the fast changing world? I have no doubt that infrastructure of the school and at home is ready. We all use LMS to deliver and receive homework, and auto-market is widely adopted. We may also use different kinds of e-learning tools for collaborative learnings in class. However, I trust not many of us are working on learning analytics like Hougang Secondary School. I believe you will be very inspired on how to blend technology into pedagogical design from the different presentation and sharings today. From my experience, the most critical success factor is having the change mindset in the organization. Dare to make the difference and be the change agent. Thank you and stay healthy.
Thank you, Ms. Ng, for a very interesting presentation. So I'm inviting audience face-to-face here and also online for question. So audience online can also type their question on the PetNet application. So any question from the floor here, and also any question from online? So I myself has one question for Ms. Ng. So nice to learn that there is an e-learning ladder. So our college is also using Moodle, so which is the online platform for posting lecture notes, assessment, and other modules. And also we are starting to develop MOOC modules in the near future. So what is your advice to us to migrate to the learning analytics you mentioned in your slides? Ms. Ng, thank you.
Actually, I think the school need to have foresight on how the data is used and what to be expected. I think the end game is important when you implement different kinds of like system or models. So the recommendation I would suggest is being a bit more external focused, explore more options before you really make the investment. Because it's just like an organization transformation, and the most challenging part is get all the stakeholders, get on it, believe in it, and act according to it. So just explore a bit more. And of course, you can contact me for more information offline.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ng. So I see no more questions from the chat room for Ms. Ng presentation yet. I see two questions later for Dr. Fong and Mr. Tim Yu's presentation. Maybe we leave it later. So now we introduce the third presentation. So hope Dr. Jin Tan, Associate Professor of Institute of Textiles and Clothing of Hong Kong Polytechnic University.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. And hello, and I'm Jeannie. I am very happy to be here to share with you my new project on design-led STEM. I currently hold 2 posts at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, first at AID Lab and second at the Institute of Textiles and Clothing. So AID Lab is a new research lab established by the Hong Kong Polytechnic University and the Royal College of Art in the UK. So For this research that I'm going to share with you, this project is actually funded by the Quality Education Fund. It involved cross-sector collaborators from the professional community. We had Hong Kong Design Center, and we also had the Mills Fabrica, which represented the industry. This project proposes a design-led approach to STEM education for secondary schools. We had 10 collaborating schools. They were Leung Sing Tak College, Carmel Allison, DGS, Leung Sing Chi College, Hope Hall, Holy Trinity, Society of the Boys, St. Catherine's, Sun Zhan Christian Academy, and Yen Oi Tong Tin Ka Ping Secondary School. So you can see that through the 10 schools, they come from a wide variety of school districts and bandings. Some were single-sex schools, some were mixed-sex schools. So they all came with very different needs and requirements. The project beneficiaries were 38 teachers, over 500 secondary school students. I think the final number was 575 students. We were very, very pleased with this number of students because it actually exceeded our expectations by 20%. And most of the teachers were from design and technology, visual arts, technology and living, or they were in charge of the STEM program in their schools. So we saw that there was actually a great need from the teachers. They were looking for alternative ways of delivering STEM education. Now, the new normal. When I first saw the theme of this conference, it really resonated with me. To be frank, I was not prepared at all for the new normal. This project was actually proposed prior to COVID. It was proposed in 2019. We had the green light for the project at the beginning of COVID, and it was actually conducted over November 2020. To September 2021. So there were many major disruptions to the school schedules with long periods of home-based learning during this period. However, while we were not prepared, we adapted. There were adaptations to the delivery, the presentations, the classroom sizes, and the venues. So STEM, without a doubt, is one of the priority areas for education right now. It is seen as vital to a country's future foundational and economic growth. However, while there are so many STEM education programs available, so many STEM studies being carried out, we saw that there is a tendency for it to skew towards a single discipline. So while we are talking about STEM, you find that the teachers who are actually teaching a lot of science and technology. This is really challenging because we are actually at risk of alienating some of our students who may not be engaged in science. They may find more interest in the creative arts or in design. This actually leads them to think that innovation is something that is not related to them at all. They think that, oh, I'm not good in science and technology, henceforth, I will not be able to participate in the innovations of the future. So this is something that we would like to address. And in our feedback with our teachers and through the research that we have conducted, we saw that many of the teachers reflected three main challenges in carrying out STEM education: no time, no training, no resources. No time as in no time within the class curriculum, no training because most of the teachers have received training that are very discipline specific, and no resources because STEM constantly evolves. They haven't got resources from the industry or the equipment that's required. So this program actually addresses these challenges, and our project goal was to enhance learning and teaching experience through the interdisciplinary practice of AI and design. So we use design thinking with the teaching of technology, and the technology integration is also through the hybrid format and the hybrid content. the final deliverables of this project involved actual practice workshops, design practice workshops for the teachers. They get to experience the entire program from the perspective of the student, and they then can adapt the program to the needs of the students. And with the support of all the cross-sector collaborators and the project staff, we actually go down to the schools and conduct the workshops with the teachers. All the online teaching materials and learning resources are available on our website so that they can access it at any time and at their own pace. The entire project is documented through our ebook videos. And finally, they share the final outcomes of the projects through their school-based exhibitions. The project has got 4 core elements. So the first one, the STEM approach, the double diamond design framework, AI as technology, and we use e-textiles as a medium. So the 4 cores are actually bridged by design thinking. And so DSTEM allows us to merge the creative aspects of design with the experimental aspects of STEM. And design thinking offers us a cyclic process instead of a very linear process where there is a very specific objective at the end. It also encourages active collaboration and creative thinking that are not bound to discipline-focused restrictions. So by merging tech knowledge with creative practice and also with our cross-sector international collaborators, we offer the students multifaceted perspectives in their design thinking. And we also ensure that the content is constantly relevant and anticipates for future developments. So for the double diamond framework, there are 4 main steps where we will discover, define, develop, and deliver. So we will actually deliver the content, the new knowledge, and the new materials to the participants, and we encourage them to choose real-world problems that they would like to address. They further define the problem and the materials after brainstorming. Further on, they develop prototypes and concepts through the actual design practice, and they deliver whatever that they have developed, and they receive feedback and critiques from the collaborators, and they can further refine what they have designed and finally share the outputs through the exhibitions. So for the double diamond design framework, we had activities like introduction, brainstorming, sketching and materials exploration, actual prototyping, and review and presentation. All these were actually conducted face-to-face and through online delivery. So by mixing online and face-to-face content delivery, we actually encourage the participants to explore, experiment, and co-design. So actually, this is a very active process. They are encouraged to work in groups and understand and start valuing each other's strengths. And they could develop out of the box thinking and have creative diversity. So these are some of the pictures that we took during our face-to-face content delivery. They were able to access the content directly from us and also receive feedback immediately. And these are some of the online tutorials and ideation that we conducted with our collaborators at the Royal College of Art and also our industry experts. So at first, some of the teachers expressed their apprehension. They were afraid that their students would not be able to articulate themselves well. But we find that that was a futile worry because many of the students were able to accommodate. They were truly interested in the areas that they were trying to solve. So they were are very proactive in finding different ways to express their ideas, either through more sketching, or they practiced more, or they communicated via role play. So there were many different ways that they were communicating via the online tutorials. So we find that the hybrid format, whereby we had the practice-based studios plus the online feedback, had actually enabled us to inform, enhance, and refine the learning and teaching experiences. The hybrid content, we were able to deliver technology knowledge through the medium of e-textiles and AI, things that are very applicable to everyday life right now. Because these content has got relevance and we use design thinking as a bridge, nobody is actually left behind. So students who are strong in science and technology and students who are strong in the creative arts all have a role to play in this collaborative learning. So we were so lucky to have our experts and practitioners. We had Timothy from the Mills Fabrica. We have our design experts from the Design Center, Kenneth and Bobo. And of course, we have the academic team from Hong Kong Poly U and the Royal College. So we were able to give multi-perspective feedback and support. So I'm very happy to share with you some of the project outputs from the students. As you can see, they are very diverse. Many of the students have got different interests. Some of them were interested in sports, some were interested in fine arts, some were interested in social good. So you can see that guided creativity by hybrid mode had enabled students to explore a diverse range of outputs. They could creatively adapt what they have learned and applied them onto things that they are interested in design and real world problems that they would like to address. So I understand that we have some technical difficulties and I will skip this video, but I would like to invite colleagues to come onto my website later when they have the chance to look at the full videos. So at the end of this, what have I learned? I have learned the value of authentic practice. Through our analyzed interviews and questionnaires, we saw that the participants value authentic design practice. The actual practice of design within the studio enabled them to experiment without the fear of failing. And secondly, because they are learning via the making process, they also could understand their own unique strengths. So they actually develop to value each other's unique strengths instead of thinking of, oh, only the students who are supposedly better at very academic learning are the only ones that has got academic value. So also, even though I am a design teacher, I'm usually teaching within a studio environment. Because of the hybrid delivery, I also understood that by having hybrid delivery, having online delivery has enabled me to reach a very large number of students. And it also enabled me to connect students with a lot of international academics and experts, which would have been previously impossible if it's only face-to-face delivery, because that would have been very costly and it would have been very difficult to get everybody's timetable together. So this enabled me to connect everyone. And we have also empowered students with the ability to engage with the content at their own pace. So in conclusion, I think the hybrid content, hybrid format has enabled STEM content to be more inclusive and accessible to all students. So thank you very much. This is my presentation. I would like to invite everyone to visit me on my research website or on the BSTEM project website to see more details about my work. So thank you very much.
for the very interesting presentation. So before we move, we are going to move on to the next presentation. So while we're waiting for the IT team to set up the next presentation, so I have one question for Dr. Tan. And it's a very interesting that, I mean, I can see that student benefit a lot from hybrid mode, but back into a lot of teachers' minds, because sometimes teachers, they don't want to change because they have been teaching the same subject with the same curriculum, the same structure.
Yes,
So one point you mentioned that really drew my attention is you mentioned no time, no training, no resources. It's a very common thing for what I hear from some teachers when we interview some high school teachers, primary school teachers, because they have so many things to deal with. So my question is, how do you motivate them? Or how do you encourage them to make this such a big move to change into or go into the hybrid mode?
I think this is really crucial because as you mentioned, many of them have been teaching in the same format for so many years. But I think it is also because I brought with me cross-sector collaborators, people that, for example, the Royal College of Art. The Royal College of Art is the #1 art and design university in the world. They don't even collaborate with the secondary schools in the UK. So this is a really good opportunity whereby they can access experts that they usually don't have access to. And because I bring it in such a so-called portable format, they didn't have to move. I provided everything, I brought everything to them, everything's organized. So then they feel that, oh, it is a very small investment on their part. They just have to make sure that there is some time and then they all participate. And once they see and they benefit from this process, they were actually extremely proactive. So I think the cross-sector collaborators and to see that everything is ready for them on the website makes it so much more accessible. So then it doesn't actually take too much time from their daily duties. And as you could understand, during COVID, they were extremely busy. So they were very kind and accommodated to this program.
Thank you, Dr. Tang. So actually,
you.
myself is one more question. So your approach is to apply design thinking concept to one discipline. So in our faculty, we have multiple disciplines. For example, social sciences, health studies, travel management. So how can your approach can be applied to some other disciplines in the university?
Yes, I think it is something that could be applied to so many different disciplines because design thinking is about a problem-based approach. So every discipline will have their problems. So and areas that are challenging. So we could always have collaborative workshops. And now, since we are doing online mode, I think it actually makes it a lot easier. For example, for this conference, because of the sudden changes, we could so easily adapt it to such a way that we don't have to cancel and we could still meet again. So I think in terms of being able to apply to the different disciplines, it will take teachers of different disciplines to sit together, and there will be ways that we could reach everything. Thank you.
Dr. Tang, for very interesting and insightful presentation. Thank you, Dr. Tang, again. Thank you. So now we have the fourth one. So last but not the least for this section 1. So we have Dr. Jason Chen, MH, JP, Assistant Dean, Innovation and Entrepreneurship of PolyU CPCE, our college. And also Dr. Peggy Ng, Senior Lecturer, Division of Business and Hospitality Management of PolyU CPCE. The title of presentation, which will be an online video, Redefining Education and Redesigning EdTech in the New Normal, Student Learning Performance in Online Collaborative Learning.
Hi everyone, my topic is how digital technology assists lifelong learning, the effectiveness of online collaborative learning, OCL. With the rapid growth of information technologies to support teaching and learning activities, adopting innovative technologies, enhance better learning outcomes of learners. Collaborative learning, CL, is a new trend of learning involving students to participate and interact from their group members. Students interact in a learning environment and learn actively through forming questions, discussing and sharing ideas, making collective decisions, and reflecting on their thinking and experiences. The use of innovative technology encourages learners to explore different learning settings and environments, such as online learning environments, to achieve collaborative learning purposes. In higher education context, OCL has constituted a new domain of learning in online education, which promotes seamless learning, higher social engagement level amongst learners, as well as higher order of thinking skills. OCL moves collaborative learning from traditional learning environments, such as face-to-face mode, to online learning environments, allowing students with different performance levels work together in small groups and learn from each other through collaborations amongst students and teachers. Whether or not students are adaptive to the OCL environments depends on some tangible and intangible attributes, such as appropriate technology, collaboration learning with peers, social engagement, and so on. The Pearson study applied OCL theory, integrating with cognitive developments, such as interaction with peers and student engagement, to evaluate the effectiveness of student learning outcomes of learners through online collaborative learning. This figure shows the online collaborative learning theory developed by Harrison in 2007. There are three components in the OCL process, which are ideas generating, idea organizing, and intellectual convergence. OCL supplements the learners by providing a platform that allows the instructor to support and motivate the learners to work together for creating new knowledge and innovation through collaboration. Through three essential phases of OCL, it can ensure the students are following closely to the standards and expected learning outcomes of subjects domain integrated with the learning cycle. In the OCL environments, students are not only motivated to learn, but also engage themselves in participating and interchanging ideas amongst their group mates and instructors. Therefore, interaction with peers as well as student engagement are considered as playing a fundamental role in OCL. In addition to social interaction and student engagements, it is essential to examine the effectiveness of OCL as it helps in explaining how student learning performance is influenced by OCL characteristics. With the context of OCL, it is also significant to consider the effects of online collaborative tools, such as Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Google Meet, and so on, which is useful to explain how the characteristics of appropriate technology predict student engagements. Therefore, the objective of this study is to examine the impact of technology characteristics, such as online collaborative tools, social interactions, such as collaborations with peers, student engagement on student learning performance by incorporating OCL theory. That means idea generating, idea organization, and intellectual convergence. A research model was developed to analyze the relationships. Also, the Pearson study tries to operationalize OCL theory using knowledge management perspectives. This is the research model of the study. We argue that the effectiveness of online collaboration tools, such as Zoom, Teams meeting, and peers collaboration, have direct impact on student engagement. Once students are engaged in online collaborative learning, they tend to generate organize ideas with their teammates and come up with constructive solutions for the OCL activities together with the teacher's involvement in the OCL process. Ultimately, students' learning outcomes will be strengthened. Student engagement and learning performance in higher education contexts have received considerable attention over the past decades in Asia. Student engagement refers to the extent of students' involvement and active participation in learning activities. Promoting student engagement is important in the learning process, which motivates students to practice high-level critical thinking skills, promoting meaningful learning experience. Behavioral approach is the most common approach used in higher education literature and can be measured by surveys. Online learning technology can significantly increase online learning performance, and it effectively increases knowledge exploration during distancing learning through increasing of motivation to the learner to stay active and access materials everywhere and anytime. Consequently, the learner can promote fluent and real-time interaction with the instructors, which boosts the idea generating that improves cognitive persons where knowledge occurs in higher education. For example, online discussion forum, which helps the group members to collaborate and through exchange of information. Appropriate technology would benefit learners to establish an interpersonal connection with classmates online and receive better learning outcomes. Based on the above empirical insights and theoretical arguments to the context of online learning, we propose Hypothesis 1. Online collaborative tools will positively influence student engagements. Learners' involvement and engagement during the learning time are essential for active learning. Interactions with peers could improve the students' interest and motivating them to explore various knowledge in depth and enrich the learning outcomes. Interactivity can strengthen the linkage amongst the students and engage them to share academic ideas and information. The collaboration with peers becomes an important element of academic progress. Therefore, the student can learn in collaborative settings with full emotional support and intra-group interaction, as well as develop problem-solving skills. Accordingly, we hypothesize the following, H2. Collaborative with peers will positively influence student engagement. There are three existing phases of knowledge building that need to be accomplished online as follows: idea generating, IG, idea organization, IO, and intellectual convergence, IC. OCL allows students to foster a certain level of collaboration and formulate a higher standard of knowledge building. In addition, OCL encourages the student to learn collaboratively through problem solving, as well as idea discourse, while the instructor is a learning community leader. IG is the first phase that encourages the student to have the brainstorming process online. Students can generate critical ideas by talking and writing. Students and instructors are able to share the proposed ideas and gather information and make a consensus about the first layer of the idea. IG demonstrates the democratic process of various perspectives amongst the classmates based on a diversity of observations. For this, we have H3A. Student engagement will positively influence students' idea generation within the context of OCL. Ideas organization, IO, requires the interaction with various stakeholders, such as instructors and classmates. IO analyzes and categorizes ideas through online discussion and in-depth investigation. The learner should have direct instruction from the instructor that instructor will make the course's content more understandable and clarify what ideas should be conducted accurately. The frequency of learners asking questions to the instructor through electronic means such as discussion board, online conferencing, and email. More importantly, the instructor can take an active role in constructing knowledge and involvement of students. So we set H3B. Student engagement will positively influence students' idea organization within the context of OCL. Intellectual convergences, IC, refers to the phase where the learner processes the intellectual synthesis about the course content and ensure the consensus occurs for the whole learning outcomes, such that discussion becomes more meaningful amongst the students. One good thing is that students can present appropriate critical thinking on specific issues, which would build a healthy and positive instructional environment with the peers and the instructors, striving for greater academic achievements. Therefore, we try to test the following. H3C. Student engagement will positively influence students' idea convergency within the context of OCL. The ultimate goal is to examine the effectiveness of student learning performance, such as academic achievement and student learning outcomes. With all the proposed components, we have the following research model. We try to test this model in China's context. We aim to invite university students from mainland China who have experienced OCL in the past 3 months. Participants were recruited from Showjump, a popular online survey platform in China. A total of 373 students, around half female and half male, were recruited to operationalize OCL concepts. The construct from knowledge management perspectives have been adapted. The data is then analyzed using structural equation modeling by Smart PLS. For this, we make measurement model and structural model. The table shows the reliability and validity of the variables in this study. All the variables passed the reliability and validity requirements. Then we try to look at the file results. The result shows that all the proposed hypotheses are supported. This means that our proposed factors predict student learning outcomes in the OCL process in higher education context. There are some key findings in this study. First, the positive impacts of student engagement on student learning outcomes through OCL process provide significant impacts and implications for higher education. Second, our research employed OCL theory developed by Harrison's framework to examine students' learning and performance through OCL process, such as idea generating, idea organizing, and intellectual convergences. Third, to our knowledge, this is the first study to operationalize and empirically examine the 3 components of Harrison's framework using knowledge management perspectives. To promote OCL, what can our students do? We examine that peers collaboration has a direct impact on student engagement. So building teamwork is necessary to ensure the success of collaboration. Our findings conclude that the more interaction among group members, the more the students tend to have a high engagement to their OCL activities, fostering cognitive skills and developments. Students should interact with their team members frequently to develop the common goal of online collaborative learning. They need to understand the intrinsic value of learning with the others so that they are responsible for their own learning. How about our teachers? What can our teachers do? Teachers can communicate with their students by email after the OCL activities. Teachers should facilitate active participation, idea sharing, and exchange among the groups. For example, during group discussion of OCL activities, the instructor would make different breakout rooms using OCL tools. Then, the instructors will join in different groups and listen to different groups' idea sharing. The instructor would provide constructive feedback during the OCL discussion, and the group would present their findings at the end of the OCL activities. The student-instructor interaction through OCL activities would enhance students' cognitive skills such as critical thinking skills, oral communication skills, and analytical skills, ultimately leading to students' learning performance. Last but not least, what can institutions do? Institutions should motivate teachers to implement OCL in their teaching to increase students' learning and performance. Institutions should encourage teachers to design appropriate OCL activities and enhance student engagement in group discussions and projects. Institutions play an important role in putting more resources to invest in technological infrastructure with appropriate online collaborative technology. Institutions can provide comfort and easiness online learning environments for students to communicate with their members to knowledge sharing and generation, which ultimately strengthens students' learning performance. To conclude, innovative technology is very important, which can promote lifelong learning. Therefore, higher education should invest in technological infrastructure for effective online collaborative learning. Higher education senior management should motivate teachers to implement OCL activities in the curriculum. Also, student engagement and student-teacher involvement are the key drivers in the OCL process, leading to desired learning outcomes. Therefore, senior management should develop policy in promoting OCL for achieving lifelong learning goals.
Thank you, Dr. Jason Chen, MHJP, for the very interesting and very informative presentation. So now we're going to move on to the next session. So it's the panel discussion. So before we start, let us invite Dr. Samuel Fong, Mr. Tim Yun, and Dr. Peggy to the floor so that we can have a discussion. Thank you.
And also audiences online. So you're welcome to give your questions on the PetNet. So now actually we have to pick up two questions. On adaptive learning, the case study you presented clearly showing the advantages of knowledge-based learning. But he is very curious, how can your approach presented could be applied to more skill-based learning? How to apply to skill-based instead of knowledge-based learning? This question is for Dr. Fong and also Mr. Yun.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So on the adaptive learning, of course, it is more on the knowledge cognitive part of the training. However, we saw train about using the hybrid. Oh, okay. Hybrid training mode. So we can actually using the adaptive learning to form the procedures of the clinical skill, for example, and then to pre-record it, and then to add the theory or even using animation like Metaverse, and then we add on 3D VR objects integrate into the adaptive learning platform. Actually, in Europe, they have one school, in fact, embedded the VR application into the area-line adaptive learning platform, so that the participant actually can apply the VR headset and then to experience with the hands-on using the handles to perform the procedures. And we'll have the recorded and have the feedback and have the evaluation by the area-line adaptive learning platform. And then to do the evaluation and feedback and let the instructor can and give the guidance after the adaptive learning. Hopefully, any additional? From Dr. Fong.
I think the adaptive learning is an advanced level of a flipped classroom. So we can have the theory part use the adaptive learning, and the skills-based training will be utilized will be adopted in the on-site. All right.
Mr. Yun and Dr. Fong. The second question also on adaptive learning earlier on. So one online participant asked, how much would it cost to use the modules in adaptive learning? This question also for Dr. Fong and Mr. Yun.
Yeah, sure. So in fact, of course, it will be depends on the production and the context of how complex on the whole preparation process. But however, we actually encourage to start simple and then to start the same teaching element. For example, Peggy, you teach hospitality. Utilize the same curriculum, the same content. We just convert the content into the adaptive learning method, and then the course we can of course can discuss and apply. Nowadays the government has innovative learning fund, teaching fund, and many school itself it also have innovative teaching fund to encourage the faculty member to try the new technologies. Therefore, I think the course is relative to the effectiveness and the proficiency. If we, for example, the case we illustrate with a lot of graphic and data point in my presentation today is actually a live real case in Hitachi Vantara system. So Hitachi program have about 7,000 employees, and they, including the sub-distributor, over 20,000 people actually involved on using the adaptive learning technology and collect the data point. And therefore, in return, we see reduction on the half of the time to get the performance level, the proficiency level, and you save a lot of manpower and generate a lot of more output or the sales performance or the effectiveness of the training. So in terms of the investment, we have different angle to how to enhance your organization need, your teaching outcome need, and then to address the maximum cost effectiveness. Thank you.
In this, we have different pricing model. So welcome to contact us for free.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fong and Mr. Yun. So we have two more questions for Dr. Tini Tang. So thanks for the photos and videos shared, and wonderful project. And two presenters highlight the values of welcoming more authentic learning scenario. Question one is, how would teachers and students be guided to design curriculum details and assessment tasks, rubrics and evaluate feedback to meet the new learning modes and environment? Any examples of assessment designs and evaluative feedback to share with us here? This is a question.
Thank you so much for that question. I think because the project is quite complex and it's got several layers, it's quite difficult for me to explain within this session. I would like to invite Phoebe to visit my website. The entire project and the different frameworks and all the rubrics are actually available on the website. So if you would like, I would welcome you to email me and we can have a chat about the project. But for example, it was very challenging because we had 10 schools, we have 38 teachers, and we have over 500 students. So it was us going into the schools and then guiding the project, the students in the projects. We actually had student helpers, we have our project staff, and we actually guide each group of the students in their design thinking. So we actually have to have a very clear framework in a way so that they are open to design whatever that they want, but there's a series of activities and tasks that they are supposed to fulfill. So this will actually help us guide the creativity. So this is the answer to the first one. And that's my answer.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Tang. The second question from our colleague Phoebe Steele for the language division. How may these two areas of educational technologies and design thinking be met with the service learning for highlighting social responsibility in university education?
Oh, this is really good because like I had a previous design project. In fact, I proposed a service learning subject within PolyU that has to do with design thinking too. So I think they are things that are well connected together. So I had collaborators with different NGOs, and they gave us actual users so that we can have the actual users come and talk to the students about the different design challenges that they meet every day. For example, some of the users have mobility issues, or they have challenges wearing certain garments, so that students could actually think of design ways to create new ways for them to don and doff their garments, or new equipment that they could use. So I think, again, this is about collaborating with a lot of cross-sector people so that we can bring lots of information to the students, because many of them are confined within the classrooms and they think within the confines of a textbook or what they have on the internet. Whereas it is still really important for them to receive real advice, real feedback that is very relevant to real world scenarios. So thank you.
Thank you very much for the question, and also a very good answer as well. So now moving on to, we got two more questions for the presentation by Dr. Jason Chan and also Dr. Peggy Ng. So the first question is, in secondary schools, it is hard for students to be intrinsically motivated and to take charge of their own learning. Very few students know the intrinsic value of learning. And for this reason, when students are put into groups or breakout room, the interaction level among students can be very low, except when the teacher joins the conversation. So here is the question: how can we as teachers intrinsically motivate students for OCL and to take charge of their own learning?
Okay, so thank you for your questions. Just go back to this morning, Professor Poon mentioned that even though AI, robotics, and adaptive learning is very good, but it's just an accelerator to teaching and learning. So one thing from the research of mine and Jason Chan, we mentioned about the importance of student engagement, as well as the important role of the teacher's interaction. So to me, my opinions would be that you have to let students more engage, okay, in the online atmosphere. So for this research, actually, we did ask questions like in relation to student engagement. We will ask whether students, they feel very interested in joining the class, whether students, they enjoy the class very much, or whether or not students would feel fun about it. So I suggest, so for teachers, you could design some activities that students will be more engaged in terms of, like, they will have fun, they will feel very interested in it, and they feel enjoyable on the lessons. And for the OCL, one important elements would be ideas. The first one would be ideas generating, and then the second one would be ideas organizing. So that would be the together with the teachers' involvement. That means teachers actually could be the facilitator, that teachers need to arouse the whole online discussions among the students. So I believe that with the involvement with the teachers, that students will be more engaged in it. Thank you.
Dr. Peggy Ng. So another question still for Dr. Peggy Ng and Dr. Jason Chan. This is from Angela from the Division of Language as well. Very practical in inspiring sharing. Thanks, Dr. Jason Chan. Two questions. First, how can the OCL help students to overcome challenges such as lack of proper training, social isolation, lack of motivation, and self-regulation, complicated, frustrating, blended learning instruction? Second question is how to measure students' engagement in terms of cognitive, behavioral, social, and affective aspect. Thank you.
Okay, so for the first questions, it mentions about OCL. So as Dr. Jason Chan, he mentioned that there are three components there, right? The first would be ideas generating. So how to motivate students to generate ideas. So I think it's very important that teachers should use a very interesting case studies, okay? So for example, if for the topic of like leadership, so if I were the teachers, I think I would design a very interesting leadership case studies that you can involve role play or even some storytelling, because if you are targeting secondary school students, then you can just put up some open-ended questions so that during this like online environment, students will be interested to generate ideas, okay? The main idea is that we need students to engage and participate. So as a teachers, as the facilitator, so I believe that teachers need to do some popping questions that to start with, so to allow students to prepare. And another important thing is that you can allow students to have some report or some presentation after the OCR activities that would you can say push them, or you can say motivate them to involve in such activities. So I think that would be very important, that the role of teachers or facilitators that involve in the first part of the OCR. Sorry, I forgot the second question.
Question is how to measure students' engagement in terms of cognitive, behavioral, social, and affective aspects.
Okay, so in our questionnaire items, we have some measurements on student engagement. So we did ask for the first one, like the collaborative work is fun. Students, okay, from students' perspective, I enjoy thinking about the collaborative work. So that means fun, enjoyment would be very important. And then we did ask, learning is interesting to me. And we also asked the project work, that means the online work, has favored my personal relationship with my peers and teachers. I feel that my opinions have been taken into account in project work. So if you can still remember the research model, we have student engagement, but before that, we'll have collaboration with peers. Peers, that means their classmates. So I think it's also important that as a teachers, maybe you form groups among the students. So you have to establish a very good relationship among the peers, so that students, they are willing to share the ideas with their peers as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. So I saw one question from the panel. So I think this is addressed to Ms. Teresa Ng. So about learning analytics, what kind of digital tools are required to set up in the classroom? How to have them maintained? Ms. Ng, please. Or maybe Samuel, Dr. Fong, or Mr. Yun, in terms of equipment, digital tools for online learning in classroom. What kind of digital tools we can use and how to maintain them?
Okay, thank you for the question. From the equipment side or the technology side, if only e-learning, it will be very simple. It's on any computer, any browser, but it will be only one way. So in terms of new edtech, nowadays we have like immersive learning cave type of teaching modality, which can enhance the engagement and also the group teaching. And also we also see a lot more on the development on using the VR headset, the 3D modeling, and then to allow for like Microsoft, they have HoloLens, which allow for collaborative teaching and learning, like the OCL package just mentioned. And then the group of students and the instructor can be in the same and 3D environment, virtual environment, on the even a mixed environment. Like previously, we have a discussion with a healthcare group, and then we talk about using the HoloLens, and then we create a virtual patient. So the virtual patient have some signs and symptoms of, for example, fracture or some mental illnesses. So the instructor wants the student to be engaged with the virtual patient using the HoloLens or integrate the immersive cave as a hybrid model. And then the group of students pretended they will be the caregiver. So they are a caregiver, they would like to comfort or to handle the dementia patient mental health problem, and then how to make the instructor can be a facilitator on the training. And then therefore a lot of different modality depends on your budget, of course, depends on the government support, right? And then it can be very interesting, it can be, but most important to enhance the student engagement, increase the mastery level of the patient competency, the student competence. Thank you.
Thank you. How about Ms. Teresa from HKT about the ethical issue? Because one participant mentioned that how do you get the student to wear the smart bracelets to take attendance? Is it some sort of ethical issue that they need to pay attention to as well? Ms. M? Ms. Teresa M, are you? Yes.
Oh, hello.
Please go ahead.
Yes. Of course, the privacy issue is important. So indeed, if school need to participate in these kind of projects, consent form need to be signed by the parents.
Okay.
So could you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So I guess that will be quite challenging for Hong Kong indeed. For Macau, it's a bit more easy. So my recommendation is just take the spirits. I don't think the bracelets actually have a lot of extra or value added information or analytics that enable the school to do more. But fundamentally, I think all the learning data, the results that could be gathered by different e-learning platforms, that is very variable, and that doesn't involve much of the privacy issues. And back to your first questions, if school in Hong Kong is willing to do learning analytics, I think first of all, they need to start collecting different form of learning data from different form of learning platforms. Sometimes for those platforms may not cost much, like Google and a lot of the other platforms. But of course, if we need to run the AI analysis analytics, there are solutions that is available that will be quite costly as well. But however, for Hong Kong, a lot of education fund could help, and we also got colleagues to help the school to draft the proposal to get funding from EDB.
That would be very useful, also for teachers like us. Okay, thank you, every speaker, and also face-to-face and online audiences here. So this concludes the plenary section 1, EdTech applications.